Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show. So before I start, I have to give an enormous shout out to the incredible guy from OpenReach, Paul. Thank you for saving the show today. Thank you for getting my broadband up. You, sir, are just awesome. So I had to do that, people, because it was panic stations here. Talk had done their magic. My line was down, but I had a really amazing guy come in and actually saved the day. Now, I have to say, I am excited because, one, I have a woman that I've met recently, and to say that she is a fountain of knowledge in her area is an understatement. To say that she's passionate about what she does and what her mission is actually does not do it justice. I am talking about Donna Noble, the founder of Curvesomeyoga, the woman who believes that everybody is a yogaBODY and that yoga is for all, not just for the yoga Barbies. Join me and welcome the incredible Donna onto the show. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Lillian.
How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if I can live up to that great build-up you've given me there, that great intro. I'm glad to be on the show.
You are so welcome. Oh, please, you have nothing to live up to. You are the living real deal of it. So, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we're going to be talking about yoga today, representation, inclusivity. We're going to be talking about Curvesomeyoga, that everybody is a yogaBODY. So let's jump into the very beginning. How did you go from IT professional in corporate UK to yoga teacher?
Okay. Let me go back to the beginning. So basically, a colleague of mine and friend saw a picture of Madonna in one of the newspapers in a yoga pose, and she was very much into what the celebrities were into, and Madonna was looking really good, so I could understand. And she sort of said, Donna, let's start yoga. And I said, okay, fine. What do we need to do? And so she said, we need to get a couple of yoga mats. So we ordered those, and we were fortunate enough to have a colleague who was training to be a yoga teacher, and said, you can be you can be my guinea pig. And I said, okay, fine. So it sort of started from there, Lillian. So I kind of did it, liked it, but didn't sort of fall in love with it immediately. As happens even now, life kind of gets in the way, and I decided then after a while to find a 6-week course or a beginner's course, because I didn't want to do yoga like everyone else and go to a class where everyone knew what they were doing. They had their legs behind their head, and I'd be like so out of my comfort zone and look like a bit of an idiot, so to speak. So I did that and continued to love it, but I was going to be starting to take a master's degree, and I thought, I haven't got time for yoga. And with hindsight, Lillian, I should have continued the yoga, but that was my path at the time. And came back to it when I started to work for a company, and they introduced yoga into our environment. And all I had to do with then, Lillian, was go downstairs and do yoga, and I fell in love with it once again. And then from there, I've been pretty much consistently doing yoga. And that was back in the late 1990s that I started my yoga journey.
Right. Okay. So you actually brought up something very, very important. You talk about going to classes and feeling like an idiot. Yeah. And because you can't put your legs behind your head and stand on your elbow while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Is yoga really all about that? Because some days we look and we're like, yeah, God didn't design our body to be pretzels.
Yes. No, and there's yoga and asanas, or postures as they called, that is just one aspect of yoga, and it's not the very first thing about yoga. Yoga is learning to connect with yourself, Lillian, but you don't get to see that on social media. Yoga is about learning to breathe, how to come to terms with your breath, and the postures are to keep you healthy, so you achieve the goal of yoga, which is that real connection with yourself. But because it's coming to the arena of the West, it's become very much about the posture. So every time you look on social medias, you see somebody with their legs behind their head in Bali. So everyone thinks that's what yoga is truly about. Yoga is about healing yourself from the inside out. looking at the world from a different perspective. And that's how my journey was. Fortunately, when I was starting yoga, it wasn't so visual. There wasn't all this Instagram or Twitter at that point. It was something I heard about and, you'd see occasionally. And fortunately, I had a teacher that taught me about the many other aspects of yoga, not just about being a pretzel body. Yeah.
All right. So we're getting to understand that it's not just about the poses. And actually, there's a lot of misconceptions around yoga, especially for us coming from the BME community. Let me even stop. Coming from the Black community, there are a lot of us who feel like yoga is still not for us because it's not Christian, and you're chanting, and you could be chanting only God knows what. Yeah. So let's do this early. Let's get the misconceptions out the way. Yeah. Do you have to chant? Do you have to do any of that? Can it just be about physically finding your center and finding your body?
Yeah. As with anything, Lillian, there's a style of yoga for everybody, basically. And there are some styles that you can chant, and there are some where you do devote to a god. But but conversely, I'm a Christian and I teach yoga, and I don't have to devote my practice to anyone other than God. So yoga was embraced by Hinduism, and I think that's where that association with yoga being religious has come from. But no, if you come to my class, Lillian, you'll see that I don't ask you to do anything that you don't want to do. You don't have to chant. You don't have to say anything you don't want to say. I started to question things that I do when I go to a class. I don't chant or say certain things that are in Sanskrit because I don't know what I'm chanting. And I don't know what I'm potentially bringing on myself. And I'm not going to do something I don't understand, and I don't feel anyone should feel to do that as well. So you don't have to devote your practice to anyone other than something you want. You can devote your practice to yourself, Lillian, or to the God that you worship, or to nobody at all. And there are some yogas where all you do, you go in there and it's like Keep Fit. You just go in there, you just do your yoga and you come away and that's it. So there is a style for everybody. So there's this major misconception. I go to churches and I say, can I come in and teach yoga? And they say to me, oh, you're not going to convert anyone. I said, why do you think I would convert anybody? I'm just here trying to share the transformational benefits of yoga and what it's done for me, and just to share that, how it can heal people, as opposed to it being intertwined with religion. And that's a big misconception, and it's a difficult one to explain. But what I tend to do is, when I go to areas where there are a lot of people of color, I explain what yoga can give them and demystify yoga in many ways as possible.
Okay. So, and I say that, tongue in cheek when I'm looking at it, is like, okay, so there's this whole conversations that we keep having about yoga. There's the understanding that yoga started in India, but there's people actually rarely know that there's actually there are different types of yoga. There's Kemetic yoga, which has also been penned as African yoga. So what's the difference between Kemetic yoga and the yoga that we know?
The difference is the style in which Kemetic yoga. I don't know too much about Kemetic yoga myself. I've done it maybe once, but I know that we have things like sun salutations, and they have their own style of doing certain postures, and the postures or the yoga means different things.
Okay,
and you'll find that more people of color may practice Kemetic yoga because then they have the affiliation of it being originating from Africa, where yoga from India has come through and been, some people say, longer, and it's been more widely embraced by the Western world.
True. And then also it's been adopted by Yoga Barbie, but we will get to talk about Yoga Barbie in a moment. Because we're going to talk about, let's start looking at Curvesomeyoga, which had a very simple yoga mission, that yoga is for everybody, that everyone can do yoga. And there was something about this whole mission around curvy women doing yoga. What prompted the start of Curvesomeyoga?
Basically, the way in which it started was, I read an article by a curvy journalist called Deborah Coughlin. And she wrote an article about her experience of doing yoga, that when she went into a class, Lillian, that she was invariably the largest person in the room, that she was either ignored by the teacher, and number 2, stared at by the other students. And I thought suddenly that this is not what yoga's about. Yoga's about union, not only with yourself, but also with the others in the room as well. And so I didn't realize how much it resonated or affected me, this article. And I kept talking about it a lot. And my friends were like, well, shut up or do something about it. and then she mentioned someone called Diane Bondi has been her heroine. So I researched her and saw that she was a curvy Black yoga teacher. And she was doing postures that I couldn't even do. And in starting my research, Lillian, I saw Jessamine Stanley. There was so many more yoga teachers that I saw, or people doing yoga that weren't your standard, yoga Barbie, so to speak. And that then began to show me that everyone can do yoga. And that was the message that I began to see. And I thought that this is something that I need to promote, because I began to look around me when I went in the yoga class and seeing that why there only certain body types on the yoga mat were the other individuals. And because there are so many benefits to cultivating a yoga practice, I wanted to share that. So what I then did, I spoke to a friend in the States after people kept saying, you do something about it. Mm-hmm. I basically said, should I do something? She said yes. And I thought, okay, what my coach at the time said, what you should do is come up with a name. And I like the name Wholesome, because I wanted everyone to know that this style of yoga was going to be different, more inclusive. But right. I thought Wholesome sounded like bread. I thought Wholesome Yoga, I didn't quite like the name of that. So basically, I like the word curvy. So when I Googled, every sort of permutation of curvy had already gone or been taken. So I can't call it curvy yoga or curvy girl yoga. But I like curve, and then I thought I could put some. And then Curvesomeyoga came about. And so it was there, basically, Lillian. And then I thought, well, how can I take this forward? So I reached out to Lisa Riley and thought I can maybe get some ambassadors that may want to show that everyone's a yoga body. Reached out to her, and she's really cool about it and was going to help me with that. But what really gave me the impetus to start was the fact that I then said, how can I take this to the Yoga show? Because everyone said, because no one knew that I was Curvesomeyoga in the beginning. Mm-hmm. I put a lot of material out there, but no one knew it was me. But everyone said they need to know who you are. And I got a bit of pushback in the beginning, Lillian, because everyone was like, well, you're not curvy, so how can you teach to curvy women or curvy people? And these were friends that were saying this to me at the outset. And then it was eventually someone said to me, but you don't have to be gay to advocate gay rights. And then that just sort of, sat rightly with me, and I, kept on doing it. So what I then did, I thought, let me take this to the show. I listened to my friends for a while, but this year I thought, okay, I'm going to do so. So I rang them up, found out the cost of a stand, and it was so expensive, Lily, and I thought, I can't afford to do this. So weeks later, after deciding to park this for, till the following year when I could have a budget for it, right, I had this epiphany. And I thought, why don't you crowdfund it? And I thought, so I emailed a yoga teacher I befriended online and said this to her. And she said, Donna, you inspire me. And I believe, Lena, if she didn't say those words, I would have just thought the idea and just dismissed it. This is beyond me. And I went home that night, Lillian, set up the page, and I just put it on social media and shared it. And by that Sunday, Lillian, I got £300. And 200 of that came from Lisa Riley. And I thought, I have to keep going with this. And I got the money, Lillian, about 3 weeks later to hold my first stand at the Yoga show. And the reaction I got, Lillian, was just so amazing. People were hugging me. I was the only person doing anything for anyone over a size 12 at that event.
Wow. Okay. So that's actually powerful because not only was it the power of the belief that you have in this idea that it's for everybody, but there's also it shows us that sometimes the people in our corner just can't see our vision, and and they're not doing it to be mean. It's just they just can't see it. And I understand what they're saying in terms of, well, you're not curvy, so you don't know the challenges. But that point you rightly pointed out. You don't have to be gay to support gay rights. You don't have to be an owl to be an animal rights activist. So you don't have to be curvy to actually teach curvy yoga. But here's the thing. You understand the struggles. You understand the issues that curvy Black women have. Yeah.
I do. And I didn't even realize that at the time, actually, Lillian, because it's something that I did, and I then did training to teach to all different body types that came in front of me. And I think as well, another key bit why I became body positive as well was when I did my Bikram teacher training. I spent 6 months in America. So I was encountering all different body types as well. So I believe it was starting to come from there, because I was being mentored to teach to all the different bodies that came into the yoga space for me.
Okay. So, we're talking about yoga, and that's the well-being industry, which we know is a $1 trillion industry. We're talking about well-being. We're talking about health. And it still feels like when we start talking about body positivity, why does it still sometimes feel like there's body shaming attached to it, that if somehow you were over a size 12, you have somehow failed at life? I mean, look at the celebration of Adele's weight loss, and it's like, okay, so you've just dialed her entire accomplishment down to, she's lost weight, but she was an amazing singer before that. She was an amazing human being, and her biggest now celebration is her weight loss. Can we talk about this?
Yeah, we can indeed, because what I've found that mainstream media is idolizing thinness, and that is where this comes from, Lillian. Basically, that in order to fit in, or to be the perfect body, it's surrounded by thinness, and this is what we've seen again and again and again and again, basically. But there are movements out there that are trying to change this. There's something called health at every size, that you can't identify someone's health by purely looking at them. Just because someone's slim, Lillian, doesn't mean that they're healthy. They can be smoking 600 cigarettes a day, eating McDonald's every day, but doesn't mean that they're healthy. And they won't get criticized for that either. But then someone can be over size 12 or curvy, Lillian, and they're deemed to be unfit. And that is so wrong, because you can't tell somebody's health status by their size or how they look. And that's what I try to prove. There's individuals, Lillian, that are size 20, and they're running marathons. There's someone called the Merninator in America, and they're doing some amazing things to dispel this myth about, and what's happening in the fitness world is becoming very much modeled on mainstream media in terms of the perfect body as well. And this is what's being idolized, and this is how people begin to fit in. And everyone's thinking that if they've been sold this fallacy, Lillian, that if they're slim, that it's going to be about them being happy, that they're going to eliminate all the things they're going through. And that's what I'm beginning to see again and again. And a lot of people, they do slim down, and they're not happy, and they begin to see that they're more than their weight, that they're more than how they look. And that's what people need to understand. And that's what I think yoga, and that's why I'm so passionate about spreading this, that we're so much more than how we look. And that's how I came to yoga, because I became ill with Bell's palsy, and it was a very visible illness. And I began to see after that I was so much more than how I looked. It was what I came from, an inside out perspective, and that showed me how much my body was an amazing tool, not its size.
Okay. And we've spoken about your Bell palsy when we met up recently. How did yoga help you?
Yoga, number one, it helped me to heal, first and foremost, in that I had the Bell's palsy, and it was dormant for about 5 years, Lillian, in terms of there was no movement on the right side of my face. But through the yoga, I began to adopt a more holistic approach to my well-being. And so I started to do things like acupuncture. And the very first acupuncture treatment I had with Lola, I got tingling in my face. So I knew what she did was allowing me to heal. But with the yoga as well, it allowed me, Lillian, to slow down, to see what I'd been told was the ideal way to live life. That didn't have to be that way. That I could be slower, I could be more aware, I could be more conscious. Yoga allowed me to connect my mind to my body, for me to see when there was dis-ease in my body, when I didn't like something, like the job, but I wasn't happy in the job, but it made me see that. And the illness made me question what I was doing, Lillian. And it was like, I'm not happy in this, so let me give this thing called yoga, as I termed it, a chance. And it's changed my life. I didn't intend to be a yoga teacher, Lillian, but this is my path now, and I can't imagine doing anything else. It just feels so right.
I'm loving your story, and there was something you said to me recently that, we talk about not having enough time because we are all so busy, and people will say, I don't have time for, self-care. I don't have time to do this wellness conversation. But you said that if we do not have time for wellness, we will have time for illness.
Yeah, and that's so true. And that's happened to me. I'm case in point that I had no time. I was doing yoga, but not on a regular basis. And when I started to do yoga, Lillian, I was happy, more at peace. And in terms of cultivating a yoga practice, Lillian, I became more focused. So an example could be like, if I'm rushing around, Lillian, getting ready to go to work in the morning, everything's all over the place. My keys, my phone, I can't find it. But because I may have done yoga for 10 minutes that morning, Lillian, Lola, now the acupuncture, I will then get my phone, get my bag and put it all together, and I'll walk out the door. So I've saved myself time. But without being more focused or concentrated, I'm all over the place. So I can spend 15 minutes trying to find my car, find my car keys, find my phone. But it gives you time. Yoga seriously gives you time. It doesn't take time, it gives you time. And over time, you'll begin to see that. And it really does. And if you don't make time for yourself, you have to make time for illness. But also, you need self-care because you can't pour from an empty glass. And putting yourself first is not a selfish act, because then you're better able to help and serve your family and your friends and strive it to be the best version of yourself by doing so.
I like that. I like the fact that, like you said, you can't pour from an empty glass, and we really need to stop trying, because that leads to, exhaustion, burnout, and that takes us to really dark places. Yeah. And we've seen with the constant conversation of mental health illnesses. We've seen the constant conversation of how stress is impacting us on a day-to-day basis. I can see why yoga would be very beneficial. Now, there's this idea that when we think about yoga, we have a certain idea of what a yoga person is. She is almost model-esque, because with legs the length of a highway, very thin, she is flexible, and she is a she. That's one of the things, is that you think, first and foremost, yoga is for her. It's not a space that welcomes men. So let's look at this. Yoga is for everyone, right?
Indeed it is.
So why do we have this idea or the representation that it's for women only?
Because the way it's portrayed in the West, on social media, social media, and also in mainstream media. But yoga was designed by men, back in India, and they're the ones that practiced yoga first. It was many years later before women even came into the yoga arena and practiced yoga. But over years, and as it's embraced in the West, this is the image that's being put out there, and the people that maybe are doing the yoga the most, unfortunately. And so we have to sort of change that mindset, because yoga is for everybody. You go. I'm glad to say that I go to certain classes now, and more men are coming there. But men seem to think, and I have friends that won't even come onto a yoga mat because they think it's very women. It's for women, basically, or they think it's very girly to do it. It's not very masculine to do yoga, because they're not seeing enough men doing yoga. Because if you don't see yourself being represented, Lillian, you're not going to do it. And that's, again, lack of representation, again, in the media, in what we see.
I absolutely agree. And there's we're going to shift onto that conversation about the representation, because I have been waiting for that piece about the yoga Barbie. Because I have gone to yoga classes. I've walked in and I'm like, did I just enter the village of the damned? Why is everyone staring at me? And and then you have people kind of tutting at you, going, well, you're trying to get in child's pose, and like, yeah, my hip bone is not meant to do that, so shut up. Or I would my last experience at this class is that then you have the yoga instructor being ever so serious with this practice and spitting out words in Sanskrit, and you're like, I'm sorry, say that again. Abanda who now what? I didn't catch that. And then you have this, and there's always one where my spot is in front, and she's flinging her legs over her head with you know, all abandoned and, you know, Lord help you, you enter her spot, you're almost, you're likely to come out with a yoga injury. Why
indeed.
is it those spaces do not feel like it is for us? And should we really not be in those spaces?
No, we should be in those spaces, but I can see and understand why we don't feel welcome there. But one about the yoga mat, first of all, I try to address these one by one. Pick me up if anything I miss, Lillian. But with regards to in yoga, there's something we don't want attachment to anything, you know, because it's not given. So for someone to go into a yoga space and want to be that same spot, they're not practicing yoga. They're practicing something entirely not yogic. Because, you know, what I will do, my friend has taught me this, if we have regular practitioners, and if someone keeps going to the same spot, we'll call them out on that and say, come on, move away from that spot. And we will actually physically take their mat and move them to another spot because they're exhibiting something that's not very yogic. They shouldn't. So we try and eliminate it for them and teach them a lesson by doing that as well. But what you find as well is, you know, in these spaces, the imagery that they're using is going to attract that type of yogi. So they'll see someone tall, slim, blonde with their legs behind their head. So they'll go to that sort of type of yoga space. And those of you that are brave enough to go there will go. And then these are all the things that you will encounter because they just don't think that we've got yoga bodies as well. And so you'll get that look. But then very quickly we can prove them wrong because what I'll show and I'll see as well is that curvy bodies can sometimes be more flexible. I can see someone come into a yoga space, be curvy, Lillian, they do the deepest back bend ever and they don't even realize it. And a slim person can have a limited range of movement. So every single body is different and not every single posture can we all do. And what we're finding now, those that are doing these extreme postures are now starting to get injuries, and there's a call to sort of back off from that because they're trying to get themselves into poses they can't do. Their bodies aren't always made to do that. And that's why we now have body positive yoga and accessible yoga, because what we are doing is adapting the postures to the bodies, not the other way around. You shouldn't have to contort your body into a posture pose and do so. And I teach yoga with humor. You know, people come to yoga, they're very vulnerable, they're opening themselves up to me. So, and I do the same with them. So I find that creating a safe, judgment-free space gets the best out of the students because they come and it's almost like they want permission, Lillian, to be able to fall out of a pose because they're working hard all the time. So they don't want to come to another place where they're paying and they want to, you know, heal, to have a teacher that's really serious. There is a time to be serious, but not to the extent that if you find the posture, you feel as though you're going to be reprimanded. You're not going to feel comfortable. You're not going to let your body relax, and it's very much against what what yoga's about. So my students, I very much say to them, if you want to come and stay in child's pose for the entire class, you can do so because that too is yoga. If you just want to breathe in my class, that too is yoga. You know, you're connecting your mind to your body, and that's fine with me. And then what I find, Lillian, then their bodies start to open up, and I give every person in the room a posture that will suit them. I use props, and I say props are tools. I'll even use props myself to make the postures more attainable. And that's what we're trying to do. Yoga is a journey. It's not about attaining whatever the posture is at its full expression. It's little steps. And I will break it down and take it back to basics and show that taking little steps, a yoga practice, is not about being yoga perfect. It's about practice. And with that practice, that's how you start and cultivate your yoga journey.
Okay. Donna, I could sit and talk to you all day about yoga and we can talk about the healing aspects. And so let's actually go back to that healing conversation because more and more Black women are now speaking up about different conditions that we seem to be suffering more and more. And there's a lot around our fertility. So PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, and all sorts around our fertility. Now, from as a yoga teacher, what can yoga do for women who are going through those things?
But yoga can make you be, first of all, allow you to know your body. So you can know when something doesn't feel right and not dismiss it. It makes you connect your mind to your body. It also, some of these conditions are related to stress. If we're in a stressful state, then our body's going to function in a way that's not going to be healthy. Because what the body's trying to do is allow you to not put too much strain on it. An example of this is I'll have some friends that they do extreme activities, Lillian, and then their periods stop.
Right.
Because number one, they're dieting, they're not eating correctly, and they're doing something. So the body's thinking, oh my gosh, Donna's doing all this activity. So what I'm going to do is turn off this hormone, because if Donna's became pregnant right now, she can't deal with that. It's too much on her body. Right. And that's when you see some people, when they go and they see a therapist or they do yoga and they become healthier and they're eating correctly, then their periods come back, because the body then believes it's in a good condition to deal with, with life as it is, and then they can fall pregnant. You hear that so many times, because it's the way the body is. The body is an amazing tool, and yoga lets you realize that, and the body will switch certain things off and on depending on where you are in terms of health. And that's what yoga lets you see. Because for me, Lillian, I can tell, if my mind is racing, I know, just slow it down, Donna. It's not doing you any good. If my breathing is very shallow, that means I'm not breathing correctly. So I'm getting in a stress state. So, the fight or flight. So I can eliminate that. So by eliminating that, then the good hormones come out, not the bad hormones. So that you're in a better place. So yoga helps you do that. But even just connecting to every single part of your body, even like down to wriggling your toes, feeling that. There's certain parts of the body we don't even connect with anymore. But yoga allows you to do that. So then it's going to help you with those conditions to make your body in the most healthy and best state it is, to help us eliminate these conditions that we're suffering with.
Okay. This is actually quite informative, because you're talking about our bodies going through fluxes and saying, okay, listen, all of this feels like there's something major going on, so I'm going to turn off this hormone. Yeah. And then, so you pointed out with periods, will stop and things like that. But this actually brought up something, because you talked about the period, and there's this whole thing, should you do yoga when you're in your period? Should you not? Should you be in downward dog? Should you not? So as a yoga teacher, what's the advice?
I think listen to your body. If it doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. Because again, I think of the whole period thing. Again, yoga was designed by men. I believe men didn't want that to happen. But different schools of yoga have different rules. And some will say, don't go into an inverted pose. And some will say, if you feel okay, still do it. And I don't hear of anyone that's still doing yoga in their menstrual cycle having any adverse effects. So I say really listen to your body, because your body will let you know if it doesn't feel right. Listen to your body. Your body is going to be your best teacher. We're teachers, Lydian, but we can only guide you. But ultimately, listen to your body, especially even with postures and pain, but also what you're going through. Listen to your body, because your body will give you the right signal, but you just need to interpret it in the right way.
Okay. So we're talking about wellness. We're talking about, yes, exercise. We know that it's supposed to help us, and yoga being one of those things. But if you're in chronic pain and the idea of getting out to do a full-blown workout seems impossible, what can you do just on a simple everyday level that can actually keep you functioning?
Yeah. You can just do 10 minutes of yoga, Lillian. That may just be enough. Like a sun salutation sequence. That will move the whole body, and that may just be enough. So just listen to your body. Do as little as much as you want, but do something, because the body needs movement. If you don't use it, Lillian, you lose it. That's what I always say. So those 10 minutes a day becomes an hour. You do that over a month, that's 4 hours. And then as you're doing this, your body's getting stronger. You're eliminating the pain more, because doing yoga gives you a higher pain threshold, and that's been proved. There's so much evidence out there online showing that people that have arthritis and practice yoga have a higher pain threshold than those that don't. And invariably, it's helping to cure and manage the symptoms of the arthritis as well, and other ailments. Where people come to yoga with back pain, and then the yoga helps that. And that's why now they're starting to do something called social prescribing, where they're starting to prescribe yoga on the NHS, because yoga can help with so many lifestyle issues and help to avoid so many lifestyle issues. That's what they're starting to do now. That's the healing benefit of yoga. And the fact that it's been around for thousands of years, and it will be around for many, many more after you and I have gone as well, because it works.
Okay. All right. So we know that you've been teaching in the UK, but it's not just you actually teach internationally, and you're recently in Dubai, and there was
Yeah.
that picture of you on social media where you were doing what you call the travel warrior pose on the travelator at the airport. Come, let's talk about this pose.
Oh, I had so much fun doing that. I kept getting weird looks and a few smiles as well. But yeah, so I teach. If you want me to come and teach, I will go there. So I've taught in India, Turkey, Berlin, and Dubai as well. So I'll go anywhere. Anywhere there's someone wants to try yoga, I will go and do it. And the travelator, it was so fun. That pose I was doing is called Warrior 2 pose, and it's such a strong posture. And the premise behind that is that if the wind is to blow, you're so strong you're not going to move, and that's what the warrior pose or the sequence are all about as well.
Okay.
But it was just so much fun doing it, you know, because I will do those postures just to show that yoga can be fun, you know, and not to take it too seriously sometimes as well, and just to have a presence, because visibility, again, Lillian, is needed to show that, you know, people of color do yoga too.
And that's really important, because that's what we're coming to. We're talking about being inclusive and finding spaces that we feel welcome. So my question is, how should we tackle the feeling of, you know, that feeling of feeling like I'm not welcome in this room? What would you advise us to do when we, as women of color, when we walk into those spaces, aside from walking out?
No, walk in there and be counted, because that's how it's going to affect change. So those yoga studios will then maybe employ teachers of color to help accommodate, you know, women of color that want to have yoga, and just to change the narrative, or find teachers of color, you know, because there are more and more of us in the UK, around the world. And there are a lot of students. And when we spoke on the other day, we met, there's so many studios now open up in America that are Black owned students, because we're beginning to see, Lillian, that we need to create this safe space for people from our culture as well, and understanding why some people of color may not want to go into an environment where the teacher may not understand what they're going through or their body shape. But the teachers out there can also, if they want to learn to accommodate all the bodies that come onto the yoga mat. That's what I've done. I teach to the room, Lillian. I've done accessible yoga, so I can teach someone that's in a wheelchair. You know, I also do aqua yoga, so that I understand that somebody that may be curvy doesn't want to come into a mat-based class, but will do the yoga in the water, because it's going to help make the postures more accessible. But they'll find they're working harder because they have the resistance of the water as well. So I can teach someone who may not have the ability to move, bed-based yoga. So I've educated myself to make the yoga more accessible and more inclusive, so the other individuals can do that as well, to make the space inclusive for everyone that comes into their studios. And the way in which we can feel more invited is by the studio owners showing diverse images, more inclusive images to show that everyone is welcome, and to back it up with having teachers that look like the people they're trying to attract into their class space as well.
Okay. And this is crucial, because there are 2 yoga studios that have opened up in my neighborhood. One of them, I've just looked at them, looked at the situation, looked at how they're set up, and I'm like, you're just not speaking to me. And so I just wouldn't go in. I would rather go all the way to Battersea, to Even Grace, because it's a yoga studio they have that is set up to be welcoming to all. They have yoga teachers of color. It's owned by a woman of color. It's owned by a Black woman, and so she understands why she has that space. I would rather go there because I feel welcome, and she has diverse range of teachers, not just women, not just white women. She has a diverse range of teachers. But if I walk into a space and I see everything I see is geared for yogaBODY, and instantly when I walk in, I feel all eyes on me going, like, instantly feeling like I'm not meant to be here. It becomes off-putting, because I have to deal with microaggression out there in the world on a day-to-day basis. I don't want to go to yoga to have to deal with that. Yeah.
And I hear that so many times, Lillian, and that's where they need to change. I know a few of them are changing, but I think people don't believe them, because I have the same thing where I'll teach at a mainstream yoga studio, And some people may venture there and still don't feel very welcome, and they'll come all the way across town to where I'm teaching in a church hall or a studio that they feel more inclusive, because it's not just about having the teachers that are diverse, but it's also the staff.
Yes.
And it's also being in the changing room. If you're in a changing room where there's only one of you, again, you're not going to feel welcome there again. And it's being acknowledged in the way, but also not in a way that you feel there's too much attention on you. You just want to feel welcome. And that's why I'm now beginning to see that there is a need for safe space for people of color. I didn't believe in it, but I begin to see it now for the exact reason that you say you're getting microaggressions all day. You want to go into space where that's not going to continue again. So you want to go into space where it's going to be totally safe and space for you to just be you, just to let go, and for someone to understand that. A few months ago, I was on a panel with a number. It was called Black Women in Fitness, and we were all from different walks of the fitness world, and it was just so nice, Lillian, to be in a space with women of color talking about their problems. It was so liberating, and it showed that it's so needed. And the reaction that we got was amazing, and it just there needs to be more of this now.
Definitely agree. And like you pointed out, there's so many spaces and states right now that are creating spaces that are just for us, for our wellness. Yeah. We need more. So when I talk about even grace, that should not be the only one. We need to have more than even grace, and we celebrate her every day for saying, you know what, I'm going to be seen, I'm going to be counted, and I want to make sure we have this space. And we keep talking about the importance of well-being. We keep talking about the importance of self-care, but there's something about when we start looking at what I call the Instagram self-care, it feels, for a better choice of words, rather wankery, because nobody in the morning, if you have a full-time job, you have kids to take care, you don't have 45 minutes to dedicate to a self-care morning practice. So what can you recommend in terms of practices or things that we can incorporate that don't feel like another piece of something that's adding to the work in our lives?
What you can do when you wake up in the morning, Lydian, first thing, don't turn your phone on. Just have, if you can, just an hour to yourself, if you can, before you get up a little bit earlier. And just sit down, Lillian, or lie in your bed for 5 minutes and just connect with you. Check in with how you're feeling. Just 5 minutes of doing that. Like just doing a body scan, from your toes to your head, or even last thing at night. So you check in with your body. Do I feel tired this morning? But recognize that so you can appeal with that. And if you can, even just 5 minutes of yoga, Lillian, 10 minutes, but 5 minutes, it really sets you up nicely. When I first started my journey, Lillian, and had to go to work in the morning, when I started to do the yoga a little bit more, I would be on my mat at 6 in the morning, and that was unheard of, Lillian, because I saw how much the yoga helped me. So I'd get up, go down to Balham, do my 90 minutes of yoga and go to work, and I could deal with any of the crap they gave me, Lillian. So it became my armor to deal with the day. So I made sure I could give that time, because I got so much more back from it. And that's why I said the yoga gives you time. I go into work, Lillian, I was so much more focused. So I got time back that I could do, that I could go to yoga, after work if I wanted. I could leave work on time because it gave me something else. I wasn't so consumed by being in the office till 7 o'clock, Lillian. I could leave earlier and get that time to yoga. So I began to give myself the need time. So it made me see how much time I was devoting to work that wasn't for me. So I got the time back. So start little. Another thing I say to individuals as well, just to say you can connect with yourself, just make yourself, you have to meditate, because a lot of people don't like to meditate, but just make yourself bored for 5 minutes. Just go into a room or a space and just sit there. Don't see a bit of dust and try to wipe it. Just sit there, and that's when you start to connect back to you, and then see what it is. And then you see the benefit. You might do a little bit more. It might be 10 minutes, and you might have a 30-minute practice, which I now do, and I can't miss it, and then just makes you become more aware and stay in the moment more. Because we're always in the future, Lillian. We're always racing to the next thing. And so we're not even involved in that. Just start and stay in the moment, because that's the only thing guaranteed. Forget the past, because the past is already done. We can learn from that. And don't try and be in the future. Stay in the here and the now, because that's all that we have, and that's all that we're guaranteed. And just give yourself what you want. If you want that extra bit of cake, have it. Don't deny yourself, because the body, Lillian, there's something called intuitive eating. When you're hungry, Lillian, your body will tell you. And when you're full, it will also tell you. So come back to that, don't waste time on sort of diets, because diets don't work. But spend time on the things that are going to make you, nourish you, that make you feel better. Invest in you, because there's only one version of you. And by doing that, everyone else in your life will benefit from that.
There's so much value in that, and that talking about the investment in you, that there's only one of you, and the fact is we're not doing that. We're constantly go that a lot of women have reached the stage of burnout and don't even recognize it. Let's talk about burnout, because being someone that understands stress, understands the impact on our body, and as a yoga teacher, what are the first signs of burnout, and what are the things that we can do to counteract?
So the things for me, you're not eating correctly because you have no time to eat, and you can sometimes get beyond you're hungry, and then you get beyond the point of hunger. Yeah. And then you feel really lethargic. Yes. And another thing, you're constantly in adrenaline state. You'll continue going all the time. You're hyper. Your brain is going all the time, Lillian, just going. And you become, I think, very abrupt, very monosyllabic, because you just want to do everything very quickly. And those are starting to be signs of burnout. You're not sleeping well as well, Lillian. Your sleeping pattern changes as well. And people see these changes in you, and they're telling you this, but you're ignoring them, because you may be something around your work colleagues and they're going through the same thing. You don't realize that. But having that mind-body connection, Lillian, you can start to see that, that you're maybe continually arguing, everything you're impatient around, like you're in the car, you want to get from A to B very quickly. These are signs you're starting to burn. And when you go away on holiday, Lillian, and you stop for a few days, you become ill, because you're in this state of adrenaline, and then when the body stops, you become ill, because the body's starting to relax. These are all signs that you're on the way to sort of to burnout. And then you get that little tap on the face that I got, Lillian. I ignored it, and then with me it became more serious with the Bell's palsy. Then I knew then that I was not in a very good state, and that's when the illness came back. And some people, unfortunately, Lillian, don't get that opportunity, because I could have gone to bed that night and not got up, but I was able to have a second chance and turn my life around. And I see it all the time. I go back into corporate environments, Lily, and I teach the yoga, and you can see at the end of the class they don't even have time for Savasana, where you lie there for 5 minutes. They pick them and they're walking out. They just got to go somewhere else, and it's like, it's only 2 minutes, and you can see they're fidgeting, Lily, and they don't want to be still with their thoughts. They don't want to be still, because it may come up. And other things to know you're getting to burnout or in a toxic position. I can be around someone, Lillian, and it's like, why when I come away from talking to Lillian, I feel really negative? Because look at the conversations you're having. That means the people you hang out with as well can bring you down. Your vibe attracts your tribe. If you're, being negative all the time, you're going to get negative people around as well. And this is where you need to see that. And being in a state of getting to burnout, you're seeing that. Another state, you're always feeling tired, you're always feeling drained. You have no enthusiasm for anything. These are signs that you're starting to get to that burnout stage. And conversely, and sometimes you're always becoming sick. There's things going around, you always pick them up. You pick them up because your immune system's low.
Okay, so what can we start doing? There's obviously the yoga, but what else can we do that is simple to incorporate to just start getting our bodies and our minds back?
Okay, just making yourself bored for 10 minutes. Just going to a room, stillness, just being quiet, just connecting with you. Going to bed at a decent time. Having your 7 or 8 hours sleep. Also, another thing I do, I have a self-care day now on a Sunday, right? Exercise. It doesn't have to be yoga, just exercise. Do something you enjoy. It could be reading a book, going to the cinema, just taking yourself out, going for a walk, going for a run. It can be all these things, and they don't cost anything. But also having a bath. We're all about having the shower, and hot Epsom salt bath for 30 minutes twice a day. It detoxifies you, but it also relaxes you as well.
I am a fan of a bath. I've just bought a special bath pillow, and I think I spent a little bit more than I wanted, but it's my special bath pillow, and I get rather religious and fanatical about baths. I will have baths in the hot summer because I need to decompress, and I do my best thinking in water. So for me, it's needed. You also talked about food, and there's this whole thing about too organic or not too organic, and we start thinking as soon as somebody says superfood, it just means the price has gone up. Look at plantain. You've now discovered is a superfood. Look at the price of plantain, people. As soon as it's labeled, the price goes up. So when we start talking organic, is this just a way to hike up prices, or should we really be buying organic food?
I think if you can really do so, because I've noticed, and an example of me was I'll have say strawberries. So I'll buy some strawberries that are organic, and a week later I go back and they're still in the fridge, and they're still in the condition that I got them. And I'll buy organic, and after a few days they're going down. It's the way they're treated, number one, less chemicals. Then for me it's less chemicals in my body. So if you can, try and go organic, and it can start with something as simple as organic bananas. I believe in really going because they're treated with less chemicals. But again, it's personal choice. It's a bit more, but I personally go as organic as much organic as possible. Then it's not everything's organic, so I just try to incorporate as much as I can.
Okay, all right. So there is some things that you can buy organic and start small. Take a look. There's a lot of information out there. There's I think I read this somewhere where it talks about the Dirty Dozen. It tells you the 12 foods that you must always buy organic because they're the ones that are most treated, and then the ones that you don't necessarily need to buy organic. And there's information out there, and so we've been talking about yoga, we've been talking about health, we've been talking about well-being, and let's talk about this whole being inclusive and what to do. And we've talked about the finding spaces where we don't have to feel like we're still doing that microaggression battle. But what is the mainstream media's responsibility? Actually, let me rephrase that question. What is our responsibility to tackle the yoga Barbie imagery? And for anybody who is wondering what yoga Barbie looks like, do an Instagram search and just say yoga and see what comes up. It's almost standard. It's the Lululemon t-shirt, is the very tight leggings, and it's a very, very so white, very so blonde look. And how can we become responsible at changing that narrative?
By being more visible, Lillian, ourselves, like sharing our practice as yogis. And that's something I've been trying to do. And I didn't do it in the beginning, but the reason why I did change that was I was teaching, I think it was 2 years ago for the Yoga show. They have this International Yoga Day, and it was going to be the last class of the day. It was rainy with no summer that year, and it's like, oh, no one's going to wait for me. And so I got there, was being interviewed by somebody, and I thought, okay, 5 o'clock's come, I'm going to go. And Lillian, I was so surprised at the amount of Black women that came out. And at the end of the class, Lillian, they said, Donna, you need to be more visible because we came out to support you. So by being visible, Lillian, I'm then showing somebody that, okay, there is someone like me that does yoga. And share your practice. And that's the beauty of Instagram. It's a double-edged sword. You have the yoga Barbies, but also a lot more individuals now that aren't deemed a normal yoga body or the yoga Barbie showing their practice. And more people now are coming out and doing yoga. And that's how we get the message out that everyone can do yoga. I believe we're born yogis. So, we have if you're a yoga teacher and you have a platform, show as many diverse bodies as possible on your platform and be inclusive. And don't just show the most difficult posture. Show yoga in a different way. Show the essence of yoga. Show someone maybe just in breathing in yoga, or someone in child's pose. Show postures that someone can say, oh, I can do that, and make them curious to come on the yoga mat. If you're showing your posture with someone with the legs behind it, they're not going to come, because a lot of the things people say, I mentioned my yoga teacher, oh, but I'm not flexible enough. Oh, I haven't got the right yoga clothes. And just practice how you want to. And there's like Jessamine Stanley, she does yoga in her underwear. She doesn't care. Yeah, and everything's hanging out, Lillian. She's unapologetic for her body. Embrace your body and be proud to show your body in whatever way you want to show your body. Don't let anyone make you ashamed with your body. To just show your body in whatever, and I show, even when I fall out of a yoga posture, Lillian, I show that as well. I don't show it being perfect, because it's not perfect. I'll show the good and the bad of yoga. And I make it fun, like the warrior, the moving warrior, because yoga can be fun too. I show that as much as possible. And what I do, I don't always just show my postures, I show my students' posture. So I show my students different ages, different sizes, men as well, so everyone can see themselves, that they can see that who's in my classroom. And I invite people as well to say, speak to me. If you want to talk about, you think about doing yoga, and they ring me, I will spend the time on the phone to explain what yoga is about and what they can get from yoga as well. And say to them, if they want to, they can come and they can watch my yoga class so they can see what it's about, to see if it's for them. And I try and go in many places as possible to share the yoga. So I will go and talk about yoga at different events, just to demystify it, so more people. And I will take yoga to where the people I want to attract are, because they may not always come to me, so I have to try and go there. There's something else. Go to where the yogis or potential yogis are, and don't go in there with this savior syndrome as well, and maybe offer for, depending on who you are and your organization, maybe go into a community and offer like a place on your training program. So that person could go back into their community and offer yoga.
Okay. All right. That's actually quite powerful. Donna, we have reached that space in the show where I always talk about, which is our So Loud moment of the week, where we talk about the celebrations. What do you want to celebrate today?
I want to celebrate my body, Lillian, because my body, I want to celebrate my body. It's you carried me around for all my years, Lillian, and suffering with the Bell's palsy was the key turning point in my life, because my body healed, Lillian, and I'm trying to share this. Never give up. If you have some sort of illness, never give up on your body, because your body may be closing down to protect you from something, from yourself. And once you address that, for me, it was moving out of a toxic environment, a busy role, and taking holistic treatments. And once that started, Lillian, my body began to heal, and my Bell's palsy started to cure. And, and that showed me, never take your body for granted, and I have to celebrate it, because it continues to amaze me every day. Through my yoga practice, Lillian, I can do things now that I couldn't do in my 20s. And instead of my body getting older and stiffer, which it is, but it's becoming more open, more free, and more liberating for me. And it's given me the courage and conviction to do things that I never thought I could do.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's celebrate your body with a huge round of applause. So that's a huge celebration to your incredible body, and I cannot even think of anything more worthy of celebrating. We need to take moments to celebrate our body, because we stuff ourselves into clothes, we look at ourselves sometimes, and the only time we stop to look at ourselves is, oh God, you don't look good in this outfit. We forget to go, God, you're amazing. I've lived in this body for how many years, and you move me, and we forget to do that. So I think that's a very, very apt reminder for all of us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk about what drives your creativity.
What drives my creativity? You know what? I didn't think I was creative at all, actually. But I think it's the yoga, and you know what, Lillian, just not caring anymore. Just letting go, and then by whatever that needs to come through me does in a creative way. And I think that's what drives me. And I think just letting go and just trusting the process of life, and knowing that my path is already mapped out for me, Lillian. That if I don't get in my own way, then what I need to do becomes easy. And if it's not meant to be, Lillian, it's going to be more difficult. And then that just allows me to be creative and to be free and just trusting myself now, which is, I think, trusting myself drives my creativity and individuals that inspire me.
That's incredible. And let me ask, what are you currently reading, or what was the last book you read?
Oh my God. What am I currently? I'm actually, because I'm about to, oh God, I've got the title, but I'm reading a book, Lillian. It's work related, but it's understanding where fat phobia came about. So
Okay.
I'll send you the title, but it's how, it was like how the fear of fatness came about. And this book starts from the days of slavery, where to distinguish distinguish themselves from us, thinness started to come through. Because I want to know where this came from, where this ideal, ideal body came from, perfect body came from. So it's going back to that. So it's almost like research, and that's what I'm currently reading at the moment.
That's
And
quite interesting.
It's very interesting. But I'll see the title, but it's very, very interesting, because it showed that, Rubenesque bodies were the bodies that were revered in those times. So it's like, when did that change come about and why? So that's what I'm going back to.
Okay. I mean, if you even think about it, not too long ago in Nigeria, in Calabar, where if a girl was of marrying age and her family was wealthy, she's sent to a fattening room. Where
Really?
she's sent to a fattening room, and you're sent there. It's like fat camp, but not the way we know fat camp. You're sent. Every day you are fed copious amounts of food. You then have people who will come, and you're not supposed to do anything. You have your bodies massaged on the
Oh my God.
daily. You have palm oil massaged into your skin. You actually have the folds that come up on your arms, and then you come out, and then people believe that, because your family can take care of you, you are now worthy of marriage, and you are more beautiful. And that in that time was done, and it was considered to be the height of honor to be able to afford to go into these spaces, and you were taken care of. And while you're in there, you had other classes and other lessons. That was done in those days.
Yeah, see, there you go. And that again just shows, something. It's like the body, this month it can be the Kardashian butt, and diets don't work. Seriously, someone changes what the norm becomes, and we need just to embrace our body. And when I share images of curvy bodies that are so, these women embrace their body, and the amount of views or search I get, it's like, the other day I put something, it got like over 20,000 reach.
Wow.
And it shows that there are women out there that are proud of their body, but they're in the minority. But that needs to be more and more and more and more. And that's happening. There's a change coming, because even though the body positive movement, it's been co-opted, by different areas or people. But some people they've gone to fat positive because they don't feel included anymore, because people don't know that, the fat positive movement was created by women of color because they didn't feel included back in the 60s. But if you look at it now, that has become very much lost in all the narrative with the brands embracing it. It's just a new hashtag. It's like, when you were vegetarian a few years ago, and then now everyone's vegetarian, and but they're not. And this is the same thing with body positivity, and people are getting turned off by it. But just embrace your body. Your body's an amazing tool, no matter the shape, size, or your sex. Enjoy your body. We're born with an amazing body, but what we tend to do, Lynn, we covet cars. Oh, look at that Ferrari. But someone said to me, God is the greatest mechanic, because the way in which everything flows around our body, we don't even know how to do it. You can cut and everything is, you can cut a Ferrari up and they can put it together. But chop that body up too, you can't. That's how complicated, sophisticated our bodies are, because we're born with it, Lillian. We don't realize it. We take it for granted until maybe it's too late sometime, when something starts to go wrong or deteriorate. Then we realize how amazing our body is. The fact you can cut yourself, Lillian, you have to think about it. It will heal. You go to bed at night, you don't have to worry about how you breathe. You're going to breathe. Exactly. These are amazing things, and we don't realize that. But I think we are starting to, but we need to really invest in ourselves. We're living for longer now, so we need to, to be in the best condition we are and to have a good life. Invest in movement. Move your body in some way, shape, or form.
Awesome. So speaking of that, what's next for you, and how can people connect with you?
Well, what's next for me? I've got quite a few things, actually, Ian. First of all, you can connect with me on social media under Donna Noble Yoga or Curvesomeyoga. The website is the nobleartofyoga.com, and I've got a 1-day urban yoga retreats in January. I've also got a beginner's yoga class starting next week at Yoga Point in Brixton, starting on Saturday at 12:45. It's a 5-week course, and we'll be taking yoga right back to its basics. So if you ever want to try yoga, now's your chance to do so. It will be fun, it will be a safe environment, and you can come and discover you too have a yoga body. But on the website is everything. I've got a retreat to Bali, to France. Those are just a few of the things. And I'm writing a book, which I need to get my fingers out and start writing about body positive yoga. That's going to be released sometime next year when I start writing it. So there's so much that I'm going to do.
All right, Donna, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. It's been exceedingly lovely to have you on the show, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing you next week, because I will be at that class.
I know, I can't wait to see you again. But thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, you were so welcome. You're so welcome. Folks, you've heard it. Let's get to the mat. Let's find our center. There's so much benefits for us on a day-to-day, and if you're feeling like those spaces are not for you, there are spaces out there. There's some spaces that, yes, we know it's a bit, but then there are a majority of spaces that are opening up, that are inclusive to all of us. And actually, it's our responsibility to show up. And if we are the only one in that space, be there, show up, and say, I'm not backing down. Unless you're going to tell me to my face not to be here, I'm not backing down. It's our duty to show up and be in those spaces. But if you're not really wanting to do the fight, look for where Donna is practicing, because she has some incredible spaces that she's in that is always welcoming. So join me and thank Donna for being on the show. Thank you, Donna.
No, thank you, Lillian.
All right, folks, it's a wrap. This is our last Saturday show, and you'll find us on our regular time at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays, where we'll be bringing you more amazing people from our communities who are doing incredible things. So, you know how to find us. You know we're on social media. Hit us up. Send us a message. We'll love to hear from you. But for now, we're going to spend more time talking to our incredible guests and getting ourselves yoga body ready. So, good night and good afternoon all. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Shine Out Show.